Attitudes for long-term success.
Sorry, so hi everyone, thank you for staying through all these presentations. Actually my presentation will actually be on parent-team communication, so a few things that I found that my parents did and taught me that I found were helpful. So briefly, Peter already talked about a little bit about my academic background, and Dennis, I'm sorry. So just briefly in high school, I was really involved in community service, and I explored a variety of activities. My parents really encouraged me to really branch out and try new things. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later. Next slide. In college, I also continued doing service. I volunteered at the hospital. I worked with freshman students, and I helped them adjust to college. So I just continue to explore new areas. So my presentation is looking at some of the things that my parents taught me and instilled in me that I think were really important for my long-term success. So the three of the points, these are not really everything. Three of them are positive messages, flexibility and independence, and high expectations. So I'll talk a little bit more as I go on. So first, positive messages. I just put this little picture of the penguin up here because I thought it was kind of appropriate. So this little penguin is getting a lot of love from his parents, and he looks a little uncomfortable. This is just to show that oftentimes children, you might feel that your parents' encouragement and love is maybe a little bit too much, but they always mean the best for you. And I found that for me, always having positive messages was really, really helpful. Never having nagging negative messages of that sort. So that's one thing. Another message was to always try new things. One example is that in elementary school, I tried maybe 5 different sports. I was pretty bad at all of them. My parents always encouraged me to try something new. From softball to baseball, when I was the only girl on the team, to soccer. So all kinds of things, and I think those are really important. Can you go back? And the last thing I think was really important was the emphasis on leadership. I was actually really afraid of doing any sort of leadership activity. I think I saw the sign and I kind of ran away. My mother saw the sign also, and she said, "Why don't you try it? Why don't you sign up?" And I was like, "No, I'm too afraid, I won't." But she encouraged me, and she helped me, figure out what I needed to do, how to sign up, how to make the presentation, how to give a speech, and in the end, I actually really learned a lot from that. So really emphasizing leadership, emphasizing and encouraging positive behaviors, all are really important. So next. Sorry, can you go back? Okay, the next thing is flexibility and independence, and I put this picture of the lions, so there's a mother lion there, but she's letting her cubs have a little bit of independence, but just under her watchful guidance. So parents, I know you want the best for your children, but I think it's also important to give your kids a little bit of space to explore and to learn. And like these little lion cubs, they have a little bit of responsibility for themselves, but not too much, so they don't get hurt, but they still learn. And also for me, I found that having balance during my childhood was incredibly important. I did a variety of different things, and I learned sports, music, art, and from all of them I learned a lot. So I think emphasizing balance, emphasizing independence, emphasizing responsibility are all really important. Just one note about responsibility. When I was young, my parents would ask me to help around the house, ask me to help with just various little tasks they could probably do themselves. But I think that for me, helped me understand what it meant to be responsible. So next slide. And coming to the final point, high expectations. I know all parents here have very high expectations for their children, but I think those are incredibly important to set high expectations, to have your children make those expectations their own. And one important message I think it's important to emphasize is always do your best. Even if your best is maybe not that great. One example was from when I was in middle school. I started swimming. I was by far the slowest swimmer on the team. That made me a little bit sad. Every day I would go and I'd be like the slowest person. But my mother reminded me that it's important for me to do my best. And I think some other speakers have also mentioned, it's important to compete with yourself, to see what you can do. And in the end, you will always benefit when you compete with yourself and try to do better. So always doing your best, I think, is an important message to remember. The other message is time management. I think all of the speakers here have already covered that. It's important for your students to understand the value of time and the value of just making sure that you have enough time for everything you want to do. And the final point I'm going to make is reliability. This goes along with responsibility, but just being a person that other people can trust, I think, is important really to remember for just general life sort of lesson. So to close, I just wanted to summarize with the points they've made. Remember, parents, positive messages, flexibility and independence, and high expectations. These are all really important messages that I found for long-term success. So thank you again.